Good evening. Can we call to order the school committee meeting of May 14th, 2025? Roll call, please.
Excuse me, Marie,
Here.
Michelle,
Here.
Randy's excused, Lisa,
Here.
Marty's excused, John's excused, Megan,
Here.
Chad,
Here.
and Jeremy's present.
Okay, I see no adjustments to the agenda. The next,
gotta do the
well,
next.
I
Pledge
know,
of
the
Allegiance?
adjustments to the agenda is first here.
It is?
Holy moly.
we
We have
always
to get
just got
some
right up.
law and order here. We all stand for the pledge.
So sorry.
I thought we started.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need approval for last meeting's minutes of April 30th.
So moved. Second.
Got moved and seconded, moved by Marie, seconded by Megan. Any discussion, questions? I see none. All in favor? Unanimous. I gotta put my glasses on here. Consent agenda, nominations. Xavier Botain, BHS EdTech 3, Roger LaRanger, full-time bus driver, Brad Johnson, custodial supervisor. Those are appointments. Resignations, Sem Chum, custodial supervisor, Dana Krucken, SEL EdTech 3, Molly Small, Biddeford High School nurse, Michael Greenbaum, Biddeford Middle School EdTech 2, Zoe Harriman, Biddeford Primary School teacher. A transfer, William York, Biddeford Middle School teacher, replacing Mark Bossino. I need a motion.
So moved.
See, John's not here, so
Second.
someone's gonna have to motion in his place.
Marie.
Marie motioned. I have a second. Second by Megan. Any discussion, questions? Well, the only question I have then is, so our nurse at the high school resignation, so was that something you knew and we're gonna be looking for another nurse now? Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. Did I already vote on this?
No.
All right, good evening. Several items here for tonight. First item, obviously a big thank you to Biddeford Police Department staff, community for the great response last Friday during a very difficult time. Like any situation like that happens in schools with emergency situations, we take some time, we debrief with our own piece and pull together with emergency responders to discuss about the things that went well, things that can improve upon, while realizing that every situation puts a different set of obstacles in front of you that you have to deal with. Last week on Thursday, the City Council put our second reading of the budget forward with no concerns from their end. This Friday, there are a ton of funding bills that are in work session at the legislative session. So I'll be there Friday. That will impact us. Last week, as part of Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, we were proud to honor the incredible educators who work with our kids in the schools. We've had provided an opportunity to provide lunch and flowers of a small token of our appreciation to all they do. And I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the parents who took time to show their gratitude throughout the week. It means a lot to the educators, and we're lucky to have such a great team here. Biddeford Saco Rising event was this past Monday, was another success, bringing together families for an evening focused on connection, culture, and community. A couple of weekends ago, we were lucky enough to have the Biddeford High School Athletic Hall of Honor in here and dedicate the new class, class of 24. Dennis and the committee does such a wonderful job with that event. And I can't remember how 12 years now, 13 years, Marie?
13.
13 years. And just want to thank everybody for their work on that and all of the sponsors that made that possible. Just great event. Biddeford Middle School's annual day of service is coming up, and this year it will take place over 3 days, with each grade level participant participating on a different day. 7th grade will be May 21st, 6th grade will be the 22nd, and 5th grade will be the 23rd. It's a great opportunity for them to learn about the value of giving back to their community. BIS students will be joining the Rotary and honoring veterans. On the 22nd at 9:30, BIS students will once again go with to help the American Legion Post 26 and the Biddeford Saco Rotary, and they'll be placing flags at St. James Cemetery, so that's always a good event for them to get out to. That's all. Thank you.
Policy met today, and we had several items that we discussed. One thing I want to highlight is Heading 9. We did review that, be compliant with executive order regarding investigations and hearings and how they are done, so we'll be seeing that. Anything else that you see on the next agenda will be posted, so if you guys have any questions, ask Megan, Chad, or myself, and we can answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, Terry and I are working on the budget now, so it'll probably be a couple of weeks before we get to have that budget meeting. Just also, I will say something, negotiations and personnel, Marie, John, and I will have an ed tech negotiations coming up here is next week, I believe, or the week
Yeah.
after.
22nd.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
Megan seconded. Any conversation? Questions? All in favor? Dr. J. Davis, British.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, we received a call from the sister of Robert J. Davies, who was a math teacher back here in the 90s. And in his will, he left approximately $38,000 to the high school. You know, when you kind of first get those calls and you don't get a lot of information, you kind of wonder what's going on, and then we had to do some research on that piece to make sure that, you know, the person on the other end of the phone was real. And so we're going to take those monies, we're going to look at a scholarship piece. Through some of the colleagues, who found that he had a very strong connection and love for the stock market. And so looking at the Business Academy and the work that they do there for the stock market piece for a Biddeford student. And then looking at any of the reserves after we set that up, going to Biddeford Education Foundation.
He was a very quiet, unassuming man, went about his business, did his job. So when I read this, you know, having known him, I sad to hear that he's passed, but I think that's a great idea in honor of his memory.
Just having a little bit of problems accessing the internet right now. So I think I can get it on my phone, or if Chris has it coming up, but my iPad is not bringing anything up. I can get it from my phone. That's fine. Thank you. Okay. So one of the things that just wanted to do is kind of look at where we were student-wise for current situation and where we are next year. There are definitely some enrollment projections that we wanted to update of where we are, and a lot of that comes around the fact that right now we have really low kindergarten registrations. And so part of this is to, hopefully if anybody's watching and you have a kindergartner at home or know a kindergartner and you say, are they registered for school yet? Please, please, please register your students now, because it helps us plan for the fall. We even had Megan Schrader call Joanne Duvall and say, you ever seen it like this low, this early? And the answer was kind of like, no. So I do wonder a little bit about a couple of things that can impact that. Is one, these are kiddos who would have been kind of created during COVID. And so I wonder if during that piece, families who were planning to have children might have been like, okay, well, a little unsure on things, like maybe we wait. That's part of it. I think housing probably goes into play on some of this, like the ability to have a lot of housing in town. So that's the one. That one I kind of need to. I think we need to watch a little bit. Now on the other side of it, just also knowing that I do feel like housing's pretty maxed out in town in general, but we did have a conversation with Catholic Charities and the hotel in Saco, and that while most families who are there because that program's ending are finding hotels north, there are a few families who are finding some rents in Biddeford. So maybe that will equalize things a little bit. But this gives you kind of a better overview of where we will be in the projections that we have coming up for next year. Just important to keep an eye on those things and as we move forward. Take any questions about enrollments. Yeah, I do kind of have a hope that pre-K will be up a little bit this year, because that would be a place to solidify some of those numbers. But you just have some weird dips throughout the district where you have 190 to 200 kids on either side of 155 or 170. It's just, you have those times, and maybe this kindergarten class is just going to be a repeat of that. And it's just kind of the cycle of things.
So it looks like in general your primary school is up about 1.5%.
Yep.
So if you are hoping that you get an influx of pre-K, that number will go up even more. Is there a concern there that if you have to deal with 3 to 4% increase, that may be a...
No. I don't think that's a problem on those pieces. And again, back and forth. We built enough space to have some room there. So I'm not worried about that. Obviously, it's easier for us to take kids middle school through high school because the number kind of spreads out a little bit. And then you have a lot of kids who will access the vocational center, and that pulls some away. I think that one of the real lessons, or the things that you can always, if you're having those conversations about housing in town, is that many times communities look at a certain type of housing that you have in your community, and it's really making sure that you have a balanced approach to the different types of housing that you have, from when you have development from apartments to single family homes to what may be the person's second home in the community to the 55 plus, so that there's that revolving cycle. so that you don't get situations where housing dictates kind of the level of, children that you'll have, and then there's like a move out because there's nothing to move into next once you've got 2 or 3 kids. That's really the hard part about like the planning on those pieces.
So that's a good point, and that was one of the topics that was brought up during the Sanford presentation when we were all
Correct.
down there. I guess you're not concerned, so I would imagine you haven't been, but at what point do you start reaching out to other districts to see if their trends are similar, and if it's something above and beyond housing and there's something systemic?
Yeah, I mean, one, I have a pretty good pulse of what happens next door, across the river in Whittier. Even with all the development, that population is not rising. When you look at, in the area of places of kiddos like in York County, we're pretty much one of the only ones that just is hanging on to a number. It's also important to, to recognize that, a dozen years ago, we were like 300 students more, everywhere. And then, I mean, nobody just seems to be increasing. It's kind of like if you're not decreasing, you're like the only ones that are doing okay. And so I just don't see where there would ever be this dramatic spike, because I just don't think there's the housing available.
Just like in my travels, I think it's important to have a really comprehensive plan of the type of housing we're putting up. We're not just putting up this or that somewhere else, or like I've traveled in a few places and it's almost like a village approach. We've got this style housing, and then down the road we've got this kind of housing, and then somewhere else in the development there's this kind of housing that, the homes are bigger, more expensive, but there's such a variety of choice, it seems, in some of the communities where I'll say, oh, let's go in there and take a look at what they're doing. And sometimes I just look at what's happening here, and it's like a house, or apartment style, that there's, okay, what else are we gonna do in that area besides like an apartment style, or for an age group? I think if we're doing a project, there needs to be a multifaceted type of choice for people to be looking at. That's just my opinion. I think we've got to get out there and look at what other communities are doing and offering. If you go through Scarborough, the kinds of choices that they have, from apartment to condo to small starter homes to larger homes to townhomes, and it's done in like a village style, like this section of the development versus that. I don't know. Just saying. But we need housing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have Megan motioned and
Not a question. I'm just going to say just how important the PLCSS is for like a newbie, a developing, rookie teacher. I can't stress it enough, having been a mentor, and looking at statistics where lots of teachers coming into the profession might stay on an average of 4 to 5 and out. We need to be supporting those early years as much as possible. It's when you come in, you might have just been fresh out of school, and although they bring lots of great new things with them, there are a lot of the X's and O's that are key to, you know, keeping them as stress-free as we can, is how I would put that. So I'm all in favor of that, and thank you to the people that are mentoring our,
Oh, for sure.
our young new teachers.
Yeah, it's an important job for sure, and it's a lot of work to do that. So I have a motion, a second. I just need a vote. All in favor of the stipends?
Get your face in there.
Jeez. All this time you weren't hearing me and no one was saying anything? That's really sweet. Everything I had to say was very important, so you missed it. Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous. What's next? Well, public participation. So there's no public here, I will say that, but if anyone here wants to talk, does anyone here want to have anything to say? No, no one's running up here to say anything, so we have no public participation.
I have a couple things, and
Well, I'll say that during communications. We have communications. Would you like to say something?
yeah, I'll
Marie?
go to communications.
Okay, go ahead.
I have two. One is I want to give a shout out to Biddeford Middle School Shelley LaJoy, who recently attended a bar conference and had shared with me some of the work that they had done, a poster that they've created at that particular workshop, and has shared some of the things that our 5th and 6th and 7th graders are doing. And I shared with Mr. Ray earlier before our meeting started. I don't know if everyone knows what BAR is, but it is the Building Assets and Reducing Risk Program. And I think she's got some interesting things, and I think it would be great to have her come in and share what they're doing over at the middle school with that BAR program. So that was number one. Number two, I just want to also share that this past fall, we entertained a Mongolian delegation that Mr. Ray met, and Marty had met, and a number of people, Dennis had met, and a number of people throughout town. And today is the reverse trip of that. And so our own homegrown, who happens to also be my daughter, former educator in the system, is out on that trip to Mongolia today, where they're going to be working with young women, and it's all about empowering young women through sport. The Princeton University, Bowdoin College, and UNE's head coach, my daughter Ashley, will be out in Mongolia for the next 10-plus days, doing some work with the State Department on mentoring young girls through sport and trying to develop leadership opportunities. So just a cool opportunity for one of our local homegrown people to, have a great experience. And for those people in social studies, might be a nice opportunity to have her come back and share.
Yeah, very nice, Bruce. Awesome. Go ahead.
I'd also like to address the events on Friday and give a lot of credit to the leadership here at Biddeford in Biddeford School District. So I think because we're a part of the Biddeford community, we take some things for granted in terms of organization and communication and teamwork. And so as someone that's been involved in a couple of different districts and seen other districts handle situations differently than the way that they're handled here, I had an appreciation for every kind of level of decision-making and communication that was made on Friday. So, first of all, your communication and your decision-making to go into your lockdown as quickly as you did, and then to make that a district-wide approach, I thought, that's an active decision, and it was a well-done one. I think you were able to get communication out to parents and to us as a school board as quickly as possible. Then you made a decision to send the high school home, and that wasn't an automatic thing. You had to make that decision because the threat was actually it was okay, right? You could have safely kept kids in, but I think you understood that social, emotionally, kids needed to go home, and everyone just needed to be home and not have after-school events that they needed to come back for. And so that was a thoughtful and mindful decision. And then I think your press conference is something that, we actually don't see school districts do ever, right? To organize something like that and have all the stakeholders that were involved that day available to answer questions and have that level of transparency to the community and to the surrounding community. So I just want to say, as somebody who just noticed all that effort and level of decision-making along the way, that I think really helped our students feel safer and our community feel more informed. And then to start the day for high school students on Monday, you know, with an advisory and take into account like the need to process that when they came back. I know my kids had coaches that were checking in with them and making sure they were okay. So, you know, it was well done by the Biddeford PD, absolutely, but it was really well done here as well. And nobody can plan for a situation like that. We have protocols, but it's still like there's just a lot of decision-making that goes into a day like that. So anyway, thank you. That was hard.
Thank you, that was well said, Megan. Anyone else
Ditto
want
to
to
that.
comment on that? Michelle?
I'm not commenting on that, but I just want to say, you mentioned Hall of Honor, and I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that did that as well. And I've been to that a couple years, and I always really enjoy it. But this year I talked to some kids that were college kids from out of town that came, and they came up to me after and said, wow, like this small town vibe, I really got your small town. And they were so excited, and a couple people that I knew that were from Kennebunk that had come here as well, were like, we've never seen anything like this, it was so well done, really enjoyed it. And so I really enjoy going to it, but it made me really proud of my community too. And my husband came for the first time this year, and he just was like really enjoying seeing all the old pictures and people that he knew, and I just think it's a real moment of pride for us. So really grateful to everybody who puts that together. Really, really well done. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was there as well, and I think there wasn't a seat in the house. It's really a well-planned event, yes.
It was the fullest it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I just want to say a huge shout out to Dennis Walton, because he has really grabbed the bull by the horns, and he has really brought this to a really class act production of an event where we meet, and he makes sure that all of us that are speaking or whatever our roles are, that we know what our roles are, so that, you know, we hit it on cue. And it is a testament to his organization and his just, you know, love of what he's doing and how passionate he is about that. And so I just want to say how much I enjoy working with Dennis on that, as well as, you know, all of us on the committee, and we owe him a huge debt of gratitude for all of the time and effort he puts into that event.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I left that night in a downpour. I got in my car and it looked like I took a swim. Wasn't it crazy? Because Mr. Ray didn't want to go get my car. That's all I gotta say. He didn't want to. Pouring rain, magic.
I tried to build you up and she was scared.
Well, that's because you did that. I had to take a notch down here a little bit. But that's okay. I will let that go. Anyone else? Communications. Do I have anything to say? I have nothing to say. Anybody else? Nobody?
I'll second that motion.
Wait. We have no executive session. I do need a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Okay.
You made the motion, I second.
Okay. All in favor? We are done.